We have a major Toronto Blue Jays free agency update to go over today as it pertains to Max Scherzer and the Toronto Blue Jays. Multiple new reports have dropped from notable reporters revealing some huge details surrounding the Jays' interest in Max Scherzer, and this has Jays fans absolutely fired up. So stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. But before we get into it, quick reminder, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, is the place to be for daily Jays content. Thank you guys for your continued support. If you want to help me, make sure to smash that subscribe button, and thank you guys again for your support over the past few videos and over the past few weeks as the Jays offseason has gotten absolutely crazy. And obviously, we're going to be discussing today Max Scherzer because a ton of dialogue has been happening between the Jays. Max Scherzer, we've heard last week about how there was a deal kind of in place for Pete Alonso, and then that started to fall through, and then it started to turn into how there was a deal involving Max Scherzer. And now a new report would drop, multiple new reports have dropped, revealing some very interesting details. And it actually has Jays fans pretty excited because the Jays are now favorites for Max Scherzer. So you can see this here, despite his brilliant career, and we'll dive into his stats in a little bit. But I want to start with this. A number of teams have been closely connected or loosely connected, to Scherzer this winter, though the Blue Jays appear to be the most serious about signing him. Scherzer would join Gausman, Berríos, Bassett in the rotation, which would shift Yariel to the bullpen. The Blue Jays were one of the finalists for Roki Sasaki, so it's no surprise, that Toronto will still be in the market. Quote, Toronto has been hot for him for about 2 months, one source said. The Blue Jays certainly feel like the favorites to get him, end quote. So this is huge. Obviously, we know that there's been a lot of smoke surrounding the Toronto Blue Jays free agents, and I know a lot of fans, I see you guys down below in the comments, are upset because obviously the Jays are linked to all these guys and they haven't gotten any of the deals done. We've been led on with Sasaki. We're led on with Soto. We're certainly led on with a lot of other players, Corbin Burns, even Ohtani last offseason, and now, Pete Alonso, it seems like we were led on to a degree, although that is still very much in play, according to a lot of these sources. But when it comes to Max Scherzer, and we'll dive into a bunch of different things here, it seems like he is not only very much in play, but the favorites to get him at this point. Now, one of the other teams that are involved are, of course, the New York Mets, and they are also actively involved in Pete Alonso. So, I mean, there's a world where the Jays end up with Pete Alonso and Max Scherzer, but there is also a world where the Mets end up with Pete Alonso and Max Scherzer, because obviously we know that the Mets signed him to that 3-year, $100+ million contract, let go of the salaries, are still paying him to this day. So, again, this report drops from Mark Feinsand saying the Jays have been hot about him for 2 months and are absolutely the favorites at this point. And again, you can see this here. Toronto's been hot in the favorites land, and people are pretty excited about it. Fans are absolutely fired up about it. And one of the biggest things here, again, he's 40 years old. He's coming off an injury-riddled season, and there is some more reports I want to dive into later in this video. But he went 2-4 with a 3.95 ERA in 9 starts. His days at 200-inning workhorse are likely behind him, but can he provide some quality innings? Scherzer recently threw an unspecified number of teams at the Cressy Sports Performance in Florida, where he works out during the offseason. One source who watched Scherzer throw said the veteran hardly looked good. He looked like Max Scherzer. Source said his Cy Young days are definitely behind him, but he's still good enough to be an effective starter. And that's what you want to hear if you're the Jays. And not only because it would be super fun to have, it'd be incredibly fun to have Max Scherzer as a Toronto Blue Jay. He's been linked to the Jays in the past, but because he would help give this rotation that has, not much uncertainty aside from that 5th starter spot. It would give him some more certainty, but it would also allow for him to kind of mentor some of the young guys. Now, whether that be Bowden Francis, whether that be even Yariel Rodriguez, who's newer to the MLB, or even other guys coming up. I mean, the Jays have a ton of starting pitching prospects now, or a few of them, that are on the cusp of the MLB, whether that be Ricky Tiedemann, even though he's dealing with Tommy John surgery, Jake Bloss, who they acquired in the Yusei Kikuchi trade, of course, Trey Savage, the most recent first-round pick. But this is from a different reporter as well. The expectation is that Scherzer could land around a $15 million one-year deal. And if Scherzer decides on Toronto, the word is this could potentially enhance their chances of getting Alonso due to the players having a close relationship. We're going to dive into this in a future video deeper, but it seems like, if anything, this would help them land Pete Alonso. And this is from a different source. Again, this is a different reporter. He said Scherzer has spoken to the Blue Jays, with sources briefed on the situation, describing discussions as being serious, but nothing seems to have come to fruition yet. The belief is that Toronto's goal is to land 2 out of the 3 names on the open market in Scherzer, Alonso, and Alex Bregman. The former 2 look to be the most attainable at this point in time. And of course, I had a video last night surrounding Alex Bregman, how they supposedly have an offer, according to Bob Nightingale, on the table. Bob Nightingale says it's about 6 years. So a ton of things are going on right now. Now, if the Jays end up getting none of these guys, then it would obviously be very disappointing, because they've been linked to these guys for a very long time. But it seems like signing Scherzer would help them get Alonso, but also that they're poised to get a couple of these other guys, which is also, if they can get multiple of them, we've been talking about 2 out of the 3. I think 2 out of the 3 of these names would be super interesting. Again, Scherzer, I'm not as sold on necessarily when it comes to being a great pitcher at this point. Do I think he would be a good fit? Yes. Do I prefer him over some of the other free agent names out there? Debatably. I mean, Jack Flaherty, obviously, I would prefer him. I don't think he wants to come to Toronto. You have Jose Quintana, who's a lefty. I would prefer him, I think, in some capacity. He's younger. He is a lefty. Might cost a little bit more. But when it comes to fun and also veteran leadership going forward and just a work ethic, and we know the compete level of this starting rotation, if you throw in Max Scherzer, the grit level, whatever you want to call it. I mean, you're talking about Kevin Gausman, Jose Berríos, Bowden Francis, Chris Bassett, Max Scherzer. That is one of the most, gritty starting rotations we've ever seen. You could argue it's the grittiest starting rotation in baseball history if they get those 5 guys. Now, again, these reports are coming out. The Jays are favorites at this time, which is encouraging, especially given the fact that, they're still in talks with Pete Alonso, which hopefully will come to fruition over the next few days here. But again, from a different report, the team that has been most heavily linked to Scherzer is the Jays, who have also been in talks with Pete Alonso. The Blue Jays, who just signed Santander, are now trying to extend Vladdy, are said to be all in as their baseball leadership group is pushing to contend for a weak AL East spot. And I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of these reports are coming out, and you love to see that they're all in and that they're pursuing Pete Alonso, they're pursuing Max Scherzer, all these different guys. However, at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to actually get one of these guys. And I share the frustration with you about all these players they're linked to, how they're on the 10-yard line for Pete Alonso, according to Andy Martino, sorry. And then after Andy Martino, they get Anthony Santander, and then Andy Martino comes out and says they're 10-yard line for Pete Alonso. However, regarding actually acquiring Max Scherzer, some of the obstacles that, according to these sources, that the Jays may have is the state of the roster, which is Santander, Jeff Hoffman, obviously the new acquisitions, Jimmy Garcia, Jimenez, Miles Straw, have fallen short in some of the other pursuits. Perhaps the person that will need the most convincing is Scherzer himself, who could be entering the final season of his career. Should the Jays manage to add another notable piece, i.e. Pete Alonso, Alex Bregman, could go a long way, towards Scherzer showing how serious they are and getting back into the postseason. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think they're at a point now, the Toronto Blue Jays, where there are 3 or 4 names left that could really propel them over the top. You need one more hitter. There's no doubt about it. Does it have to be Pete Alonso? Not necessarily, but there's not many not many other hitters out there. I mean, they got Santander, they got their guy, which is great, and they got Andres Jimenez, but one more guy would really help propel them into actually being able to contend for the AL East spot. You think about the Yankees, who I don't think got better compared to last season, but certainly didn't get drastically worse. You have the Orioles, who lost a few of their players. You have the Red Sox. You have the Rays, who signed Hai-Sung Kim today at a great deal. We have 2 years, $26 million. I mean, the AL East is wide open. No one in the AL East is going to be running away with it, aside from maybe the Yankees. But if the Jays can come in and just get one of these guys, and I think Max Scherzer is certainly a fantastic step in the right direction. However, I find it hard to believe that they will sign Scherzer without either getting Bregman or Alonso or somebody else that can provide them with a few more wins. Again, we talk about it. They're in that 85 win mark. Some of them have them projected at 78 wins. Some, Zips has them projected at 83 to 85. If they can get a couple more wins, a few more wins when it comes to, adding some war here to help propel them into what should be a wild card spot with the way that the baseball playoffs work now. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we might be a little bit closer to getting Max Scherzer. But again, they're favorites. This is a brand new report. Things are very encouraging on that front. But until they actually put pen to paper specifically on this player, we're going to have to keep you up to date with all the latest news. So make sure to smash that subscribe button. Let us know down below what your thoughts are. Thank you guys for watching. Cheers.